Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's May 21st, 2024. It's morning, and I thought I'd make a video. I think I just posted a video on using the weed mats, a synthetic mulching system for our gardens. And you've seen videos of us using wood chips. Wood chips have been a big part of what we do here on our property, especially in our food forests. But we've used them in the gardens as well. But today I thought I'd share with you, I've talked about using the double ground hardwood bark mulch on many occasions, and that's what this video is about today. So yesterday, and this time of year, in a cold temperate climate like Oswego, New York, it's, the frosts all look like they've stopped at this point. It would be unusual for us to get a frost after today, basically, and our forecast is looking good. So right now we're going full tilt boogie, trying to get our gardens ready, get everything secured, get the drip irrigation on them because the rain has stopped, or at least has let up significantly. We've only gotten minuscule amounts of rain the last several days. So it's time to get the gardens all set, and drip irrigation is really important. But before I get the drip irrigation established over here, I had to start moving in some of our double ground hardwood bark mulch. Little confrontation going on between a couple of Canada geese and their families. That's what that background was. But today's video is about the double ground hardwood bark mulch. Now they're very similar to the wood chips in many respects. They have many of the same macronutrients, major nutrients, secondary nutrients, and micronutrients as well. But there seems to be the double ground hardwood bark mulch they're much finer particles. They have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. However, when using them, they will reduce the amount of nitrogen available to the plants. So it's really important to make sure that you're amending the plants either with a fertilizer, an organic fertilizer, or compost, or something like that to try and deal with. Now, with the blueberry plants that we put in recently, we went ahead and fertilized those and acidified the soil, and then we just put the double ground hardwood bark mulch on them yesterday. So they also have they have the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the NPK, and they also have iron, cobalt, manganese, magnesium, molybdenum, and some other trace elements as well. So it really is a good product to use, but the only concern is using not having enough nitrogen available for the whatever the plant species is that you're putting this around. You probably want to put it at least 2 up to 4 inches thick. Cardboard underneath it if you're trying to suppress weeds that are already established, or pulling the weeds ahead of time. We're also potting up some of our heritage red raspberry plants, so I've got to do these 2 beds yet, but I've got to get those heritage red raspberry plants potted up and set. These are an ever-bearing raspberry plants. I'll probably make another video about them. But I wanted to get this down because all of these guys need their water, need their nutrients, so they were fertilized and acidified beforehand, and then the double ground hardwood bark mulch. That'll help to suppress weeds, help to regulate the temperature of the soil where the plants are actually in. I did mound this up a little bit. This will all be knocked down. I'll use a hose to knock some of this down, but shoveling it on there initially gets it to this point. There isn't as much air spaces between this, the double ground hardwood bark mulch, as there is with wood chips, because the wood chips are larger chunks and there's larger air spaces between them. Here's Sia coming over with bins.
Bins for our project this morning, more raspberries. And the ones that planted yesterday that you dug up, they look great this morning.
Fantastic, great job. So we're going to get back to, well, we're going to go and have breakfast first. But so far that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. You'll see me moving some of this, and I'll talk a little bit more about the double ground hardwood bark mulch and some of the considerations. Just like I did with the weed mat video, look in the descriptions. I'll give some considerations. Hopefully in the near future, I'll get some articles published on our website, mindfullivingsanctuary.com. So enjoy the video and have a great day. Bye-bye now. Say goodbye, hon. Hey, hon, say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Talk to you later.
So this is the pile of the double ground hardwood bark mulch. We get a load at least once a spring. It is 10 yards that we get initially. It's really nice, the material, because going through a grinding process twice, all of the bark on these hardwood trees, it really breaks it down to pretty darn small particles. And it holds a lot of air, so when you pick up a shovelful, it's not very heavy at all, unlike the leaf mold. So we love the wood chips as well for mulching, but in the gardens this works great. It has a great deal of visual appeal as well. So this will ultimately get incorporated into the soil, but it starts off on the surface as a mulch. Some of the major nutrients, it does have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the NPK that everyone thinks about. The nitrogen amount in it is less than ideal, and therefore people will say that it robs nitrogen from the soil that the plants are in, and that it just ties it up temporarily. So you do want to make sure that you're putting adequate organic nitrogen source on, before you do it. And so if you look at the blueberry plants as I'm doing it, you'll see some of the white there. There's some acidifying agent and some of the fertilizer loaded with nitrogen. And so by putting this on top of it, it'll help to accomplish multiple tasks. Secondary nutrients include calcium and magnesium, both for the cell wall of the plants really needs the calcium. Magnesium's necessary for photosynthesis, for the chlorophyll process. And then there are the micronutrients: iron, manganese, zinc, boron, and molybdenum, and that's necessary for fixing the nitrogen as well. So lots of organic matter there, with lignins and cellulose, which really help to create that humus layer on the surface of the soil. It's going to help to improve the soil. It's going to help to balance the pH. The decomposition rate of this double ground hardwood bark mulch is quicker than the wood chips themselves. So you may have to mulch it a little bit more frequently. It just works very, very well. I think it does a pretty good job of suppressing weeds, but again, if you've already got really established weeds, you either want to pull them or you want to sheet mulch to deal with the situation appropriately. Let me see what else. I would say you probably want to put somewhere between 2 and 4 inches thick. Now you don't want to mound it up around the where the root crown and the multiple branches of the bush start leaving the root crown. You don't want to be suffocating or holding too much moisture up against the stems that come up. So it's referred to as volcano mounding and all. So that's pretty important to make sure that you don't do that. Mulching garden beds, like I said, 2 to 4 inches in depth on top of where the area that you've got. Since we have permanent raised beds, I really want to make sure that the top and both sides of the bed are pretty well covered. There's more surface area because there's more air exposure, but with our permanent raised beds, with heavy rains and downpours, we won't have as much issue. Could there be wind erosion? Yes, there could be, but as the outer surface of this hardwood bark mulch starts to crust over, which helps to keep it from wind erosion, the soil from eroding, but water through the drip tape works through it very, very nicely. So it's a nice weed suppression barrier. It helps to regulate the soil temperature Doesn't allow it to get too hot in the summertime, and it helps protect against those frosts as well. The erosion control, as I mentioned. Ultimately, it's going to improve the soil structure, but in the meantime, I think it's aesthetically pleasing. What I'd like to do in the future is actually get some good hay and break it down like bales of hay, and take the hay pads and line them down on top of the weeds that are in the alleyways, and then put some of this double ground hardwood mulch on top of that as well. So if we got a good clover and alfalfa mixture, we'll have lots of nitrogen available for those for building the soil around the plants as well. And I think that's about it. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. We're going to be doing the raspberry plants, which are next to it as well. But I was able to get the mulch down, get the drip tapes back up on top of it. I didn't put the staples in it yet. I'm hoping for a good rain to help relieve some of the mounding that I did right around the main stems that are coming up from the blueberry plants here. But pretty happy with how things turned out overall. Now the wood chips that we use, and I'll try to put an article on our website, mindfullivingsanctuary.com, hopefully in the near future. We're just real busy right now. But I will add some of the information that I'm talking about down below, like an outline form of the information that we're discussing here and now. So, and the wood chips have really the same nutrient profile, but different concentrations, not nearly as much as the bark does. And with it being ground to such a fine level, not only is it aesthetically pleasing, I think it holds up pretty darn well, and it isn't as hard to deal with as the wood chips. The big disadvantage of course, is the cost. You can often get wood chips from a service for free, but otherwise, and there's the raspberry plants that I've got to take care of tomorrow. But that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye now.